Thank you to all my patrons who supported me throughout my whole YouTube journey. Hey guys, M.A.D.D.Y. I don't know, but today we are back with Go! My favorite sports team. I can't remember what the title of it is, so I'm just gonna jump right into it, and we're gonna continue with the Lego project we've been working on for a couple days now. We are almost done with this head. We just gotta do little details, do this little card thing, and if we have time, I'll place them up there. Alright, let's get started. Alexa, play the most recent episode of Go, My Favorite Sports Team. Shit.
Hitting Go, my favorite sports team from Spotify. Here's the latest episode, Weather's Impact on Sports.
Oh. Yeah. Alexa, turn up the volume to 65%. There you go.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to Go, my favorite sports team. I am Tyler Scheid,
Hi, Tyler.
your sports master. The know-how, the knowledge flows from my brain to my lips and out for your ears to enjoy here on this podcast about sports. But I'm not alone. No, you could never be alone. I am here.
I'm alone.
With the
Well,
illustrious,
not really.
The glorious, learner, further knowledged, and beautiful Mark.
I saw a man getting slapped into next century. I was doing some sports research. Well, I mean, I was browsing the internet. And I saw, we did an episode on slap fighting, right?
Yes.
My name's Markiplier, by the way. But I saw, and this is part of the reason why I'm like, ooh, I don't know about this sport, gang. Because people brought up that we were quoting from a league that was abolished or whatever.
Yeah,
or something
slap
like that.
strike, yeah.
And there was a new one that was still going on. But I saw a match. And this guy, his face was swollen up to double his head's huge. It was like covered in chalk from the dust.
Yeah.
But it was bleeding through it. It looked horrifying.
I saw that video.
You saw that?
I saw that one.
It was awful.
It's horrible.
It's
the fact that he was
horrible.
allowed to continue is what scares me even more.
They just kept going. Like, if you want to talk about brain damage, I think repeated strikes to the head, especially the chin to rotate it, that's bad for the brain.
Well, I'm even thinking of the fact that, like, what's happening right there is inflammation and bruising.
Oh, absolutely.
And the amount that is swollen, the amount of blood that's in there,
Yes.
like, if that ruptured,
Yes.
that's terrifying.
It's terrifying. Everything about it was terrifying. Good thing no one's slapping him in the swollen bag on his head as hard as they can.
No, why would they ever?
Why would they do that? No. Either way, I'm not really convinced about that. I don't know if anyone would be able to come up with an argument about the nobility and the honor of the slap fight. I think it's just asking for trouble, and someone's gonna get horribly brain damage.
It's true.
Anyway, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing brilliant.
Are you? Because I've got words here that say otherwise.
Oh.
It's time for Tyler's Love Life. We're getting into the nitty gritty of it. We're getting into the itty bitty of it. We're getting into the, yeah. All right, so what was your first
That is not what this episode's about.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
Sure?
This is my
I
episode.
read on the synopsis it was going to get wet and wild. That's what I heard. That's what I heard. That's what it says.
It almost happened because you almost made me spit my water out of my mouth.
Yeah, was that your first experience?
Spitting water out of my... I've done
I
that
don't
a
know
lot.
what you do.
I don't do that.
How could you make that sexual?
That-
Don't look up and think on me. Don't do that. You pervert.
No.
All right, so the description does have wet and wild in it, though. Am I wrong?
Yes, for this episode, yeah.
This episode this is wet and wild.
Yeah.
So this is about my sex life.
No!
No.
Shush!
This episode is about how weather, climate, and environment affect sport.
Well, I think we can all agree that's much more boring than your love life. I think I want to know about your
No,
love life.
this is definitely more intriguing than my love life.
Are you sure?
I am absolutely
Are you
positive.
100% sure?
Yes.
Well, we can explore and we'll just do both. We'll compare.
No, or we'll just do the weather one.
Fine. I guess it's a sports podcast, but before we do that, we do have to get us some jacuzzi out of the way.
Jacuzzi!
Okay.
Are they weather related?
No.
No.
One of them is by DJ Wilson, 1993, that said, "We in the eastern United States pronounce the range of mountains that run from Maine to Alabama the Appalachian Mountains. If we hear you pronounce it Appalachian, we'll throw an apple at you."
Well, it's the Appalachian Mountains.
Yeah, and I'm just like, this is dumb.
Oh, we're gonna throw an apple at you. Oh, thank you for the sweet breakfast snack
Like,
and energy.
I get that the people who live in
Nevada?
Nevada?
Or is it Nevada? It's Nevada.
It's Nevada.
Nevada?
Yes.
Nevada?
Although it looks like it should be pronounced
Nevada.
It's not.
No.
It's not. It's
No.
Nevada. And they
Nevada?
get really mad.
They do.
They get mad if you say that wrong. And I'm like, okay, all right. But I have always known the Appalachian Mountains as the Appalachian Mountains.
Yes.
And I don't know of anyone that calls it the Appalachian Mountains.
Me neither.
Apparently you do now.
All right, fair enough. Okay.
Apparently.
It's more of a JQs that I was just like, I don't know how to do that.
Also, what episode did we talk about the Appalachian Mountains in?
I don't know if I
It just came out of nowhere.
I don't know. These JQs has just happened. The other JQs, the Lunar Eclipse Kitty, says, "How dare you, Tyler, use AD and that other one in the soccer primer? We do not use that anymore. We use current Common Era, CE, and before the current Common Era, BCE. Get it right. We aren't all religious peoples."
Oh, you're talking about the denotion of
Yes,
years.
exactly.
I was like, what?
You know what's so funny is like I don't even recognize BC as like standing for before Christ, and plus AD is like some anti-denominator. All I know is B is before, and that's all it is, and A is after.
Yeah.
After, before, after. So B, you got the B time and A time. Now this is totally fine because this is actually new to me. I didn't know that there was actually different nomenclature.
I didn't either.
That people were using for current era and before current era.
Well, I can tell you my research is what told me BC and AD, so...
It's just one of those things that get baked in so hard that you never even think about it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't go, 2000 BC and then make a cross.
This was before you were born.
Oh, God, do you remember? No, you weren't born.
Actually, is it BC before crucifixion, or is it BC like before they were born? I don't even know.
I don't know.
I just know it's in...
They say Jesus was born on Christmas. He sure weren't.
No, he wasn't.
He was not.
I think that could be proven that he weren't. Or if he was born at all, I don't know. It was 2,000 years ago.
Maybe he was summoned from the ethereal plane to come into existence and show us through the portal of energy how we should live.
This is some L. Ron Hubbard style shit. We're getting in some deep territory here, the likes of which our fragile minds are not prepared for. We here in the current era have no idea what's going on at any other time except now. But we're going to talk about a very ethereal concept that no one really fully understands: Tyler's love life. So,
No!
what was your
We're
first
talking about
girlfriend? What was your first girlfriend like?
So, Mark. I thought about answering, and then I was like, no.
He ignored me, everyone. He just ignored me.
So, Mark,
Okay.
sport.
Oh, what is this?
It was suddenly invented, right?
Okay.
It's affected by things. Sports require certain criteria
Why are you
to
talking
exist.
like that? What the hell is happening?
All right, Mark.
Why do I hear rain?
You have a mountain.
Isn't the Appalachian?
You have a mountain.
Okay.
You live in the mountains.
I got a mountain.
You live in the mountains.
All right.
Obviously, in the mountains, you have access to rock.
Rock.
You have access to water. Usually, water's
sometimes.
precipitation, mostly
Yeah.
off of the mountain.
There's a tree outside.
Create a sport.
I'm wondering. That is not the question I was expecting. I will use a rock to cut the tree down, and I'm gonna invent skiing. I'll ride the tree down the mountain.
1 tree per foot.
No, actually, now that I think about it, it'd be better for one tree for both of my feet, and I do it sideways. I think that probably came first. You know, if we're all perfectly honest here, that was actually the original. I don't think. Well, this dude, I'm not gonna cut down 2 trees.
Anyway, the point is,
No, I'm not done inventing
okay,
sports.
continue
All right,
inventing.
we got avalanche.
You got avalanche riding.
No, just avalanche. So there's this town down there, and if I get an avalanche to hit him, I win.
Jesus.
You just walk over and just, oh, and there's a snow capped.
Is that true? Can you actually make an avalanche fall by yelling at it?
Yes. That's why, if you've ever seen,
You said it with such confidence, I didn't question it at all. Not like, how do you know? It's just like, you said it so confidently. What? How?
So, because sound creates vibration.
Sure.
So the biggest thing is like there are actual rules in places where trucks cannot use their gears to brake. They have to actually use their brakes. It's actually in the Rocky Mountains because of the vibration of the brakes and engine braking and the noise that creates because it revs up the engine so high, it can cause avalanches. So that's why they're disallowed. There are numerous occasions where if you create a sound loud enough, which could happen with enough people yelling, and it could, if it's already fragile enough, if you yell close enough to it, it can cause a vibration to create an avalanche. It's very unlikely that one person yelling could do it, but it is possible. The same thing can happen, like they actually cause avalanches using dynamite. More often than not, the dynamite is not on the shelf. It's actually just the sound and the vibration from the explosion that triggers the avalanche.
Interesting.
So,
Like a big Airzuka. You remember Airzukas?
yeah.
I could probably do it. Okay, so that's the other game that I play, Avalanche. Very
Avalanche.
fun. I don't get a
Beautiful sport. Not deadly at all. Not dangerous.
I play Catch the Lightning every once in a while. So I tie a coat hanger to my head.
Who are you competing against?
God! Hit me! Hit me, you bitch! Come on, hit me! You can't, you won't!
I have a friend who's actually been struck by lightning.
Well, he lost the game!
So the goal is to avoid getting hit by lightning.
Yeah, I'm not trying. That'd be easy. That'd be
But
too
you-
easy.
But you named the game Catch Lightning.
Yeah, but it's like, it's fun. It's like Avalanche, It's like, well, okay, there's an avalanche. Look, all right, okay. I'll call it "Don't Wake Daddy" because who's the biggest daddy of them all? I'm not trying not to wake him up. No, that's a terrible name. See what you've done?
Isn't that a video game?
Yes, it is. That's what I was referring to.
Oh.
Oh, this is awful. I like Catch the Lightning better.
All right, Mark.
Yes.
Act 1.
Act 1, okay.
Weather and climate's impact on sports invention.
What?
That's right. Sports is invented based on the terrain and weather they had to deal with.
Okay.
All right, so we get into like the resources that are available at the time. All right, so you're in Mesoamerica about 3,000 years ago.
What's
Mesoamerica.
I'm so sorry, everybody. What's Mesoamerica? Right, okay, all right. All right, okay, I got it.
All right. You got trees, lots, jungle, bugs,
Yeah.
rock, dirt,
Yeah.
soccer. You gotta create soccer out of all this stuff. How do you make a ball?
Was soccer invented in Mesoamerica?
It was invented, it technically like appeared in all different parts of the world, but I'm focusing on Mesoamerica right now because it's fascinating because they had the trees that make rubber.
Oh.
Do you know how those trees work?
You put a seed in the ground and you get sun, water, air. Taking carbon dioxide and they use.
Not how trees work. How you get rubber from
You didn't ask me how do you know how those trees work. I asked you how those trees work. That's how they work.
How do you get rubber from them?
Well, over time, fossils, amber. It's probably sap. It's sap.
It
It's
is
a
sap.
different sap, though, I'm guessing.
So they would bore a hole into the side of the tree and put like a some sort of cup. It was probably made out of wood or like coconuts, and they just jam it in there.
corpse of another tree.
They had the skulls of their enemies.
Okay, brutal. Love it.
And so the sap would flow out into it, and then as it sat out there, it would kind of solidify into this like it was almost like latex.
Yeah.
I watched a video on this. It was really fascinating because there was somebody going around collecting rubber from these trees.
Okay.
And so they'd scoop it up and they'd boil it and do a number of different things into it, and make it into this rubber to create a ball.
Okay.
And so, in order to make that ball, obviously they had the resources because of the rubber trees.
Huh.
And so then they created the stone court for their particular version of the sport. Was just like a long I shape. So they cleared trees for that and created stone walkways and used this rubber ball to start playing their version of the early ages of what became soccer.
Huh. Is that the one where they have belts and there's a hoop up and they hit it with their hips?
Yeah, they had the like leather padded from the animals that they kill. They hit those through the hoops.
Huh. I never thought, I would never have thought, like, because I forgot that rubber, I did know that rubber trees are a thing. I didn't necessarily know that they were only in Mesoamerica.
I don't know if they're only there, but they're the ones that discovered it, at least in the early ages, of being able to create something with it.
Man, seeing the first bouncy ball must have been nuts.
Oh!
Can you imagine that?
The aliens, they blessed us with a ball!
I mean, let's not go into ancient alien territory here. We'll get some people started.
Well, and then you go into China, which is actually the one they look at for the original version of soccer, which was they created with bamboo, created the hoop that they'd hit the ball through.
They couldn't make a hoop otherwise.
Well, they could have.
The technology. No, they don't know anything.
They could have forged steel. They used gunpowder and made it explode every time a ball
They couldn't realize that a wheel and a hoop are the same thing, but they were just like looking at scratching their heads like, oh man, we can't play, kids.
We can only make cars.
God damn you, capitalist industry. God. Anyway.
But unlike Mesoamerica, they didn't have the rubber trees, so their version of the ball was made out of animal skins, leathers, that they filled with feathers and fur.
And this is weather dependent? Is there like...
Well, it's not weather, it's the environment. So we're talking about the
right.
weather, the environment, and all of that stuff.
Okay.
And weather plays a key part in what, animals are there.
It defines what kinds of things they can make to have their fun, to distract them from the monotony and boring lives that they were living before phones were invented.
Yeah, all the stuff before major technology, when people would just go out and play with sticks.
Yeah, those idiots.
Speaking of which, they probably played sports with sticks.
Except where they didn't have sticks.
No, not sticks.
No, that's what I'm assuming from this, because certain environments don't have trees.
That's true.
And they can't play stickball.
Going into that, we get into swimming. And the craziest part is that the earliest indications of swimming are in southwestern Egypt. In a cave.
What?
It's a cave called Cave of Swimmers.
Well, that's too specific. That can't be the real name.
They named it back then. It was just, this is the Cave of Swimmers.
This is some explorer, quote unquote, from the UK coming down and being like, I've discovered it!
I can have people pay to enter this cave.
I see. They swam here. So I've deduced it.
So these rock paintings are over 10,000 years old, painted at a time where the part of Egypt was much greener and wetter than we know it today. And what is now the Sahara Desert was covered in lakes, grasses, and trees providing water for swimming. And people often say that the indication that caused the desert was massive deforestation by people coming in and just taking the trees, including ancient Egypt when they started using all the trees and stuff. Some people argue.
Well, I have no right to this is the exact same thing that led to the Cave of Swimmers. It was probably a big-ass tomb, and the guy walked in and saw a bunch of bodies laying on the ground. He was like, they were trying to swim!
Swimming in the sand!
I see! There must have been an ocean here!
Why do we go to, I'm an inspector,
That's what all those explorers with their big mustaches and those twirling in their elephant guns. It's just a cannon. There's another one!
Let me take an hour to reload.
I call this the bones of swimming. I found it in a puddle of blood.
We have a swimming boat. It looks like a fin. Yes, clearly this part of their anatomy was a rudder so they could swim straight.
You're talking about other human remains?
Yeah.
And that's how the UK looked on other people in the world. Which I don't know. Fair.
But archaeological evidence shows competitive swimming in various forms as races and military training also dated back to 2500 BCE in Egyptian, Greek, Roman, and Syrian civilization.
Nice use of BCE.
Yeah. All right, Mark. Here's another option.
Okay.
You're in a field. You're a shepherd. It's early 19th century. No, 16th century. Going back older.
Big difference.
You're hanging out with a couple other shepherds. You're bored. You're just staring at your sheep. Your sheep have been grazing for hours on end. They're just eating grass. What would liven it up? What would be fun? You got a little shepherd staff. You got a fence and posts and stuff like that. How would you see that? There's some rocks. Use some rocks, pebbles around.
So I got rock, sheep, stick.
Rock, sheep, stick, and a grassy field. And fences, like fence posts and fence gates. Well, this is how cricket was invented.
You didn't give me a chance, man. I was thinking hard. I was really using my brain. I was in my head. I'm like, what could you possibly do? A sheep? Right? Wait, how was cricket invented from that? I didn't even take the time to understand how that even correlates to that. What are the sheep doing? What did they do to the sheep?
They moved them away.
Oh, okay, that's better than what I was imagining.
They were in the background to catch the rock that they hit with their shepherd's staffs.
There's no way you could hit a rock hard enough to get it any distance. How big are these rocks?
There's like little pebbles.
I have so many problems with this.
All right, so your shepherd's staff is now a bat.
Okay.
You have a random rock that's found that becomes the ball, and the sheep's pens are your targets. The sheep are also still in the pens.
Okay, cool, good.
And congratulations, you're playing early career because you're hitting the ball towards the wicket.
Well, you didn't mention the wicket. What's the wicket? The pen?
Well,
the pen is
The
the
pen
wicket?
is the wicket.
The sheep is the wicket. There was one sheep named Wicket.
They're just aiming for Wicket's face.
Yeah, and Wicket just crumbled the 3 poles.
No, but because they have sheep, they also would bale like grass and hay. And so what they would do is they'd have the bales of hay that would sit on top, and if you hit the post, it would make the bales fall.
Okay.
So that's how they created
This is weather related.
the wicket. No, because it's the environment.
Environment. I keep forgetting. I'm thinking weather. You didn't
Weather
premise
is forever in your head.
You
But
premised this with weather.
Weather is like the water. You know, water in Egypt.
Weather's not the water. What are you, crazy?
You don't get water from weather.
Weather, this wind blowing, you think that's just water? You think clouds are just water up there?
All right, fine.
They are.
Fine. You want a weather one?
It is basic. No, I'm saying you're right. I was playing dumb.
I know.
Because it's all part of the water cycle.
Yeah, it's precipitation,
Yeah,
evaporation.
Pretty much all of weather is
Condensation.
determined by yes, those things. But what were you talking about?
I was saying you got a weather one. I got a weather one for you.
Okay, weather. I'm ready.
It's skiing. All right. Cave paintings from the last ice age, over 10,000 years ago, show early human ancestors chasing after animals on skis. Skiing was invented for hunting.
Are you sure humans back then didn't have really long feet?
You got me there. Okay. I'm not a historian. I'm not an expert.
Then why are you talking about history, huh? What gives you the right?
Articles of knowledge.
Just like with love, what gives you the right?
You're right. I don't have love.
All right, sorry.
That got really depressing.
So the people had skis, not the animals.
Yeah.
Why is this in my notes? I am judging myself in this moment. 4 trees like, yeah, down the mountain.
The poor sloth at a toboggan didn't have any chance.
But the cold temperatures, you get into the how Ohio was formed in the lakes, the Great Lakes, was the shifting of glaciers because of the ice age and the climate. And then as they melted, they formed the Great Lakes in Ohio. So there's peaks and valleys and hills and stuff that shaped the earth because of the weather.
Oh.
Which allowed people to therefore have the terrain to be able to ski. Now, skiing isn't that big in that area, but, you know, earthquakes, the shifting of the tectonic plates, creating mountains,
Yes.
and the weather at higher elevation allows for snow to fall. And so cold temperatures with precipitation, which is weather, created snow, which allowed people to be able to have ski slopes.
Yes, but what does this say about Tom Brady's legacy? He could play in any weather.
He could play when he's 6 feet under, you know? It's Tom Brady.
Right, okay. But just trying to make it sport related, I think.
Skiing is a sport.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No,
Just because your foreign exchange student looked at you at the ski resort and said, and ignored you, it was like, I'm cooler than you, doesn't mean you can say skiing.
cooler than me. He was. That's the problem.
He was good at skiing.
Maybe. I don't know. I never saw him ski. He was way farther away from me.
All right, so weather.
Yes.
We talk about colder climates, so that's what led into this.
Okay.
One of the factors and the reason why some sports are played in certain seasons has to do with the weather.
Okay.
Football in particular, because of the amount of pads and clothing you wear, you want it to be cooler outside. Which is why the fall season has been used for football. Because if you're playing in the summer, which I have done when it's 100 plus degrees because of 2 days, you're dying. your body is literally withering away in the heat of the sun as you try to expel fluids from your body at a rate that is inhumane.
What are you doing with their fluids?
It's sweating.
Okay, hopefully. I really hope.
No, but wearing all of those pads and stuff, it gets really, really hot. So that's why it's played in the fall and leading into the winters, because it's a cooler time of year. As opposed to baseball, which is played in the spring into the summer, and now it stretches into the winter because for whatever God ever reason, they decided to have so many games that they play in October.
Money.
Well,
Money.
yeah.
The answer is money. Money. Money.
Yeah.
You can say it once, Mark.
Well, ice hockey.
Yeah, okay, alright, no money.
Ice hockey has to be cold. Before we had the ability.
Good.
Before we had the technology to bring ice hockey to Florida and freeze the ice indoors, lakes had to freeze, Mark.
No, you're right.
Same with curling.
Okay, alright.
All right. So weather had an impact because in order for sports to be created,
They had to be in their environments. Okay.
yes.
I see.
So you needed water for swimming. You needed
No, just a cave.
yeah,
Just a cave.
just
You don't
cave,
need- you don't need
sand and
water.
bones. You need that bone, rudder bone.
Yeah, you need to get the privilege out of your ears and start swimming, desert boy.
No! You know what's crazy though is because early days, and I'm amazed they didn't think of this. Actually, they probably did. Like in deserts, the sand, they could ski on the sand.
Technically, but I don't know if they would have. There's no real tree growth to make nice skis,
That's
right?
true.
I mean, not
You
like-
just put cacti.
Oh,
They stick
God.
to your feet, man.
Oh man, they stick to the sand too.
No, you can put the smooth side on the bottom.
Yeah, don't put the smooth side on your feet.
No, you
yeah,
need
no,
it-
put
you
the
need-
spikes in there.
Yeah, you need to stay on the skis.
You know, you're that guy that would be in the desert like, I'm creating a new sport, and no one would play it.
What do you mean, guys? Ow. Oh, ow.
Don't worry, my blood will lubricate.
It makes the sand feel cooler.
Yeah. Oh man, all right. We could probably do a whole episode on sports that never really made it off the ground. I'm sure there's plenty.
I'm actually really curious about that. Maybe we can do a nutball primer where that's not an official
I'll
sport.
do. I mean, I think it actually might be somewhere.
That's terrifying.
Act 2. Okay, we're in Act 2.
Weather, climate, and environment impact on results and popularity, right? So soccer. It's the most versatile sport. You just need a giant field, some goals, and a ball.
Okay.
And really, you don't need the giant field. You just need a ball and maybe a goal, which can just be an arc of sticks or whatnot.
Sure.
But some people don't have balls. Some people have squids.
Excuse me? Did you say squids?
I was wondering where you were going with this mystery voice of yours. Like he started hunching over like deeper and deeper toward the microphone. I'm like, what is he doing? Well, he's up to something. Do you have squids?
So apparently, a friend of mine, when they were in like school, they played soccer with a squid because they didn't have a ball. So they created
That's
this like
horrible.
it was dead.
Not better.
so they basically like soaked down the surface and just started playing soccer with a squid.
Okay, sure.
And you saw them slide the squid and go the other direction. It's, you know what? That makes it kind of more like hockey, but you're playing hockey with your feet.
Yeah, I guess so. And eventually it would like start to slippery up the entire surface, so you wouldn't be able to get any traction.
Start
running, right?
oozing ink so you can see where it went.
Oh! All right. What is this to do with weather? I've kind of forgotten.
This has to do with the environment. you know?
Environment. Oh God. Oh.
People are opportunistic, so if they don't have the resources now, because the sport has already been invented and it's extremely popular across the world,
Yeah.
they're finding new ways to play.
Okay, sure.
Some people will even create a soccer ball out of grocery bags and string.
Sure. Whatever
And-
works, right?
Yeah, it's just making whatever you can possibly do. To
There
make
was
it
a
functional.
TikTok I saw of somebody in Africa who didn't even have like the proper equipment, but his dream was like to be a catcher in the
Major League Baseball, MLB,
MLB.
NBL, the Major Baseball League. You're
Yeah.
close.
But he had videos of him like trying to train. He didn't even have a catcher's mitt. He just had like this piece of like thick paper. And someone would just throw him the ball over and over again. But on his wrist, he had a string, and it was attached to like these 10, 20-pound weights. So every time he'd catch a ball, he'd have to lift the weights up with his other arm. to catch the ball. And so he's like coming up with all these strange ways to try to train to be a better catcher, even though there's no other team there. There's not even a high school team. There's nothing there, but it's his dream. So he just like makes do, and he wants it. And so hopefully, like the MLB,
You had it
Major
right.
League Baseball.
sees that TikTok or something or that video, and then maybe flies him out for something.
Well, and that's fascinating because back in the day when they created sports, it wasn't like so.
What day was that when they created sports? What day was back in the day when
It's
they
each
created
sport was
sport?
created, all right. You know, they're different ages.
You spoke of it like the lion from Narnia. Like, I was there when sports was written. I was there.
Back in my day, we played with the proper attire and the proper gear.
No. All right, well, okay. When it was made, sure.
But when it was made, they didn't think about how it becomes so popular that suddenly people that aren't in the environment that's made for that sport, you know, where you have the sand, the base, the grass field for baseball, and the leather to be able to have a glove, and even that in the affordability of it, they didn't think of different ways that people would like be able to do this outside of that region. But because of the way media is now and how far stretching with the advent of the internet and so many things, the amount of people that are like, I actually just really gravitate towards the sport, and now you're playing with a string of weights and a piece of paper and catching. I imagine maybe it's a real baseball, maybe it's something else.
It looked like it might have been a baseball, yeah.
And it's crazy. So here's a fun incident how environment can really affect the result of the game. Because obviously, if you change the gear, it's going to favor people who are used to that gear. So if you took professional soccer players and you had them play with a squid on a soapy field surface, I'm pretty sure the kids with used to the squid on the soapy field surface would have the advantage.
Possibly, I guess.
Now, this is interesting. One of the most essential things, because you brought up baseball.
Yeah.
One of the essential parts of watching baseball, a lot of people get bored, they watch the birds. I enjoy baseball.
I love baseball.
Just to watch the birds that fly around. Birds are constantly in baseball stadiums trying to get hot dogs and all the other different food that's spilled and left in the stadium. But there's this funny incident that happened. On March 24th, 2001, the Arizona Diamondbacks pitcher Randy Johnson threw a fastball traveling over 100 miles per hour. Normally, such a speed is a good thing in baseball. You know, if you're going to get it past the batter, you're going to get a strike if it's there. Well, on this fateful day, a mourning dove intercepted the pitch.
Oh no.
I saw that video.
And exploded.
I remember this.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Not
bird
funny.
explodes.
Not funny like you were describing.
It was shocking.
Shocking. Yes, it was shocking.
Yeah.
Incredibly shocking.
It's
yes.
very sad.
Let's just say the bird didn't survive.
The bird didn't survive.
But apparently, after retiring from baseball, this is the part that I find funny. In 2009, Randy Johnson started a photography business. The logo is featuring a dead bird.
Oh my lord, no, he
That
didn't.
became the defining moment of his career. Because he became famous because of that bird incident.
I mean, I wouldn't really want to embrace it, but sure, whatever works, I guess.
But I mean, it impacted the game because that pitch then didn't count. He had to throw an extra pitch, and pitchers are usually kept on a pitch count so they can't go. So the environment of the bird being there impacted.
Oh, I see. I'm still thinking weather.
Impacted the
I'm
game.
waiting for the thunder to start.
No, we started with environment.
Okay.
Getting into weather.
Yeah.
This is a fantastic instance. Normally soccer is not played in the snow. It's not a winter sport. It's a summer and spring sport. But in 2013, a World Cup qualifying game that became known as the Snow Classico was played between the U.S. and Costa Rica in Denver, Colorado. There were 11 inches of snowfall during the game.
Costa Rica's not known for its snow.
No, but you're in Denver, Colorado, so those players probably have dealt with snow before in their life. I don't think Costa Rica even sees snowfall unless you're on top of mountains.
So that would be a disadvantage for the Costa Ricans.
So there's only one goal scored 16 minutes into the game. It also affected the way the ball moved, the players were slipping and sliding.
Wait, there was 11 inches of snow on the field?
Yeah. So despite it was in the middle of a snowstorm that had over 11 inches of snowfall. I don't know if they got to 11 inches, but the picture that I have here shows no green. It is literally snow, and it is downpouring snow.
Because 11 inches you wouldn't see the ball. The ball would be under the snow.
The ball is practically under the snow in this picture here. Look at this.
What? No way.
Yeah, the ball is the yellow thing behind the guy's head.
Okay, yeah, no, actually, this is not joking. That ball is in the snow.
Yeah.
I think there's probably like 2-3 inches on the ground, and I think there might be some rays from the ball being kicked. But yeah, that is a snow soccer. That is snow soccer.
Yeah. So during the snowstorm recorded 11 inches. They were playing the game in the middle of it. So I don't know how much accumulated or how often they cleared it, because I imagine they tried to clear the field as best they could.
They might not even have the equipment to do that. Denver, yeah, they might. Okay.
Yeah. I think most even stadiums in football have that as well, not just soccer. But the condition was obviously rapidly deteriorating. And 21 minutes in, the game was all slipping, sliding, fouls galore, the ball barely moving, battling in the snow, and only one goal was scored.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm pretty sure the U.S. won that.
Okay. That would be really embarrassing if like, the Costa Ricans came in and they somehow played in the snow better than the Denvers.
Yeah. Lone goal was by Clint Dempsey, so the U.S. won.
Clint. Go, Clint.
Go, Clint!
Yeah.
All right. Football. American football.
Okay.
Weather can impact a game in many ways.
Mm-hmm.
So whether it's hot, cold, different stuff like that. They even designed stadiums for it. Did you know the Miami Dolphins, the stadium is designed to where their team sideline is in the shade and the opposing team sideline is in the sun?
That's kind of mean.
It gets up to like 10 degrees difference between the two sidelines.
That's so mean.
That's how they create a unique home field advantage. I agree that it's mean, but it's also kind of smart.
What kind of smart? It's kind of smarmy. It's so Floridian. It's so Floridian of them. Why don't they just put shades over the other one?
It's the way that, what do you mean? Like, just put up umbrellas?
Yeah, why don't they bring umbrellas? Why wouldn't the other team bring on a bunch of umbrellas?
You know, I bet you they probably could, but it affects cameras. Because it's a business.
Money, right?
They need the money.
Just give every player an individual parasol, and then they can walk around and feel fancy.
That would be hilarious. I now want this to happen. I hope the Bengals play there, and we can just write to the Bengals and be like, hey, here's an idea.
Here's an idea. You never thought of this
You
one.
never thought of it. Give everybody an umbrella.
No, not an umbrella. It has to be a pink frilly parasol.
A pink striped parasol.
Right.
You got to be on brand.
It could be Bengals, yeah.
Yeah, but it's got to be pink.
Yeah, of course.
All done.
All right, but hot and cold climate can affect people's performance because if you're in hot weather, you generally run out of energy faster. You deteriorate in water. Temperature change can reduce the pressure of the ball, as Tom Brady tried to use this as an excuse for deflating the footballs.
Was that the excuse?
Yes.
What?
Yeah, he also destroyed his phone.
His phone had a secret inflator, deflator.
It had the information of, like, his messaging.
Alexa, turn off the lamplight.
Okay.
Alexa,
Notice him.
turn the lights white.
Okay.
Before the game. No, he's texting. He's just texting the ball boy, being like, yeah, stick that needle in that ball and make it run out of air.
That sounds like a sex.
I don't like that.
I don't like that text. I don't like that one.
I mean, he does kiss his children on the lips, so I don't know. Tom Brady is not that. I'm not.
I was so thrown off by that statement. Like, to each their own, but I didn't know where that came from. I was like, what? What?
Anyway, moving on.
Yeah.
All right.
Bring me along with you next time you move along.
All right. In 2016, a study found that when the temperature drops below 20 degrees Fahrenheit, there's a 42% jump in turnovers, which jumps to 52% at 10 degrees in temperature or less during a football game.
Going
so
up or down?
Colder.
Okay.
So
that makes sense.
42% more turnovers when it's below 20 degrees Fahrenheit when it's cold. And then it jumps to 52% if it's 10 degrees or lower.
Your hands just don't move as fast.
Yeah, and it's like the ball gets harder, so it doesn't have the squish to be able to increase the friction coefficient as you catch the ball, and it's harder to hold on to stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of like, it gets slippery too. A lot of times when it gets colder, sometimes there's snow, there's other factors.
Right.
But in 1967, argued as the coldest game in NFL history, I disagree.
Okay.
On New Year's Eve between the Cowboys and Packers, a game called the Ice Bowl. It's called the Ice Bowl because it was 13 degrees below zero Fahrenheit.
They shouldn't have named it that. They kind of like taunted fate there.
Yeah.
Going into that.
Yeah, they named it beforehand. That's exactly what it is.
Well, that's what I assumed.
No,
What do you
they named
mean?
it afterwards.
I know the Rose Bowl. I mean, that's what the name of it is.
No, this was at a Lombardi
Don't act
Field.
like I'm dumb because I didn't know the Ice Bowl's name wasn't. What was it before?
It was just a game between the Packers and Cowboys.
Didn't even have a bowl.
No, it was just at Lombardi Field.
Stupid.
And the Packers almost lost this game due to fumbles. But they ended up winning within the last 16 seconds of the game, winning 21-17.
How cold was it?
Minus 13.
Damn!
Now, the true coldest game in NFL history, what am I supposed to believe, is the Freezer Bowl. The air temperature was only -9. All right, so technically, by like the temperature that registered on the thermometer said -9 degrees, just standard air temperature. But there was a -59 degree wind chill. So it felt like it was -59 degrees.
Yeah, that does sound like it'd be worse.
This game was then dubbed the Freezer Bowl. And it was an AFC Championship game between the San Diego Chargers and the Cincinnati Bengals in Cincinnati at Riverfront Stadium.
It was -59 wind chill in Cincinnati?
Yes. This is when the Ohio River froze over and people were walking across the Ohio River.
Wait, what year was it?
1981.
Oh, okay. So I would not have known this.
But the crazier part is my uncles, my football uncles that were like, he's going to be a football player when he's born.
I think so.
They went to this game. Oh. Yeah, and there were people shirtless at this game.
No way.
They probably got hypothermia.
But needless to say...
Well, actually, it doesn't sound like it was the coldest game ever if there were people shirtless there.
And people are just crazy. When you drink alcohol, bad things happen.
I also imagine that when you're in the stands, I haven't been to a football game, but it's like, I imagine that there's a lot of people rowdy and breathing all over the place. So
yeah,
it
so it feels a little bit warmer.
Yeah. Did you see the camera? This is kind of unrelated, but kind of related to wind chill. The camera on Mount Washington.
No.
It was just the other day when we're recording this. Obviously, there was
a yeti, a deer that huddled around it.
It might not have been. It'd be dead because the wind chill was -100.
Holy!
This is an actual security camera footage. It looks like the movie Day After Tomorrow.
That is nuts.
It was an atmospheric event. This is just this audio that they put in here. It's not what it sounded like, but it's creepy, right?
No, it's exactly what it sounded like. That's what wind sounds like, everybody.
Yeah. So it was a weather system that was part of a tropospheric fold, meaning like the layers of the atmosphere have different names. You couldn't ask me what they are. I don't remember which ones they are, but the troposphere folds inwards and
basically
pushes
creating a vacuum.
Yeah. So it pushes out all the other layers, and then it folds in and creates like just this catastrophically cold event. Yeah, so it's no good, and it was cold. But this is on top of a mountain too. So.
Yeah. So this game,
yeah,
you have a team from California going to Ohio.
Oh no.
Wait, San Diego.
No. The
They
49ers?
They moved in the last number of years. It was within the last decade because San Diego refused to build them a new stadium. It's a whole thing.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So they moved up to LA.
Okay.
But the Chargers from San Diego, where it's nice and toasty and warm,
Sure.
go to visit in the playoffs the Bengals
Oh,
in Cincinnati,
no.
where it's cold.
Oh
Bengals
no.
still lost.
No, the Bengals won.
Okay. I was just wondering about that.
Yeah, the Bengals won and then lost in the Super Bowl against the San Francisco 49ers.
Ah, damn.
But you can tell, like, the Bengals were used to the environment and the Chargers were not.
Yeah.
I mean, it was insanely cold for both teams, but the Bengals were more adept to the cold. So much so that none of the offensive linemen on the Bengals team wore sleeves. But also, people are kind of crazy. So.
No, being cold adapted is definitely a thing, and it takes like a month or two to just like becoming adapted to elevation changes. Your body needs weeks to be able to put in the new rhythms and hormone cascades and different chemicals into place, just so you can be warmer as a baseline. It needs to get like the brown fat activated. It needs to get all these different things.
Yeah.
You can't just go to a place, sit in an ice bath for an hour, and then I'm good. No, you got to do that again and again and again. You got to deaden the nerves too of being cold as well from overexcitation, excitotoxicity of the cold nerves.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, people that are cold adapted do not feel the cold as much, and their bodies are naturally warm.
That kind of explains why I radiate heat all the time.
The more you know.
Dun,
Yeah.
dun, dun,
Well, I don't know
dun.
if that explains why you radiate heat all the time.
I don't know. I'm from Ohio. It's colder there.
Well, you've been here for a long time.
Well,
I
maybe
think
it's
you've lost
stopped.
all adaptation. I think you're just you got muscle and you got some fat and you're a guy and we're kind of sweaty sometimes.
Fine. Don't let me be special. Everyone's got something special, Mark. I want to be special. Anyway, and a very recent game of football, beginning of this year's football season. So this year.
Okay.
Chicago Bears open against the San Francisco 49ers. They have new turf and everything. But there was a massive torrential downpour. So much so that the field was flooding.
Oh, good.
It became basically a wading pool on the field. The water was like covering people's feet. And so it was slipping and sliding. The grounds crew had to use squeegees on the field during the game to try and remove some of the excess water. It was basically a swimming football game.
Why don't they just call it? Why would they even have it?
Football plays through all weather, man.
The money. It's the money.
It's the money.
They can't do refunds. You get the money.
But it's fascinating because the Bears ended up winning that game. But you can imagine the field surface, because Soldier Field, which was the field they played at, is grass. And so it's water and mud and mess. And so when somebody got tackled, they'd slide a good 5 yards before they stopped. Absolutely.
I mean, that does
wild.
sound like a fun game to watch, to be perfectly honest. Yeah.
And then we get into skiing. So
It's got to be cold.
well, yeah. But the liquid content of the snow that has fallen on the ski slopes impacts how fast a skier will be able to ski. So if the snow is too dry or too wet, there can be an increased friction that slows down the skier's coefficient. And this time I have it's actually kind of a graph. It's the what's the one that has a bunch of bullet points and then they do a correlation line? Shit.
A graph?
Yeah, well, it's a graph, and it has to do with air temperature over time and the coefficient. But
let me go. What is the graph that has a bunch of points and a line, a trend line, or whatever? It's a line graph.
Okay, well, anyway, but it's showing the ambient air temperature as the temperature increases from -12 to +12 degrees Celsius. At -12, the time per second on average of somebody skiing is around 19.5. And so the solid circles represent snow with liquid water content equal to dry snow equal to 0, and open circles represent snow with liquid content greater than 0, so it's wetter snow. At about 6 degrees, the amount of water that was within the snow was increasing because it was a wetter snow because it wasn't as cold. And all of a sudden, there's a massive jump starting at 8 degrees Celsius going to 12 degrees Celsius in how much slower the increase in time for somebody to be able to ski. Yeah.
So, in certain aspects, and I bet this applies to a lot of sports, getting that world record isn't just about your skill. It's about what the world decided to do that day as far as temperature and environment goes. It's kind of out of your hands entirely. You got to roll the dice, and you got to have the perfect day.
Well, and it's
Literally.
also one of those things like if you have a headwind when you're running a sprint, you're going to be slower versus a tailwind.
Does that affect it?
It does. Tremendously. Endurance runners run into the factor when it comes into terrain and altitude in a massive way. You're at higher altitude, the air's thinner, so there's less.
And I guess
But it's harder to breathe.
over the course of an entire marathon, if you were running into the wind, that would also... I never even thought of that.
You have to work that much harder. It's also the same thing when you think about terrain. When people do marathons, you do like the LA marathon versus the Boston marathon. How flat it is, how much elevation.
If I decide to run a marathon, let's say when a tornado is swooping through my town, and I just so happen to catch it, that it's like pushing me from behind, and I
Yeah, you
land
go
at the
fast.
finish line.
Yeah.
So long as I keep running midair, well, look, I'm running.
You can risk your life. I don't think they'd say anything. They'd be like, this man, we canceled the marathon, but one man decided to run.
Therefore,
And he has a world record for fastest run during a tornado.
the charity wasn't going to get the money. We all agreed, no tornado, no charity money, but he did it. He's dead now, but he did it.
He done did it and won the race. He's a tornado man. That'd be, you'd be forever known as the tornado runner.
Wow, that's a good name though. I wouldn't want to be dead, so it wouldn't matter. But, I wouldn't mind that.
So obviously altitude plays a factor as well. The ball will travel further in the air at higher altitude because the air is thinner. There's less friction.
Yeah.
So like baseballs, that's why a lot of home runs are based on like home run derbies and stuff. If you go to Denver versus playing in like San Francisco, which is basically right at sea level, the ball travels significantly further in Denver because the air is thinner. It's the same thing in football. The air is thinner, which is why the majority of the record-breaking field goals have occurred in Mile High Stadium in Denver, Colorado, because the altitude is so much higher, so the air is thinner. So
Good to know.
yeah. So that kind of concludes all the different things that the weather and environment can impact sports.
You know what other thing about weather and environment that you don't realize that Amy and I ran into driving back through Colorado?
Oh?
is in LA, and I'm not even used to this because we grew up in Cincinnati, they don't put windshield wiper fluid in your car. If you get it serviced and they top it up for you, they don't. You know what they put in it? Water. And guess what happened to our windshield?
It froze!
Yes, it froze right behind a snowplow when I needed to clear it.
Oh,
I
my
could
God.
not see going down a mountain in the middle of a snowstorm because, number one, the one that was spraying, I was like, it's not clearing it. It was just freezing over and over and over again.
Oh my God.
And then the sprayer stopped spraying because the entire reservoir of fluid, I had to pull into a gas station, and this is the gas station
That's
that does
dangerous.
this. Well, yes, it's incredibly dangerous, but it's something you just wouldn't think about because in LA, it never freezes. It never gets below, well, it very rarely gets below
Well, if you go to
freezing.
Big Bear, it freezes there.
Yeah, but around here, you know, they never expected that car to go anywhere else. But it should be fluid.
It should always be fluid.
Yes, there's probably some environmental concerns that I'm not aware of. But either way, there was one gas station afterwards that knew that there are cars that don't do this because they upcharged the windshield wiper fluid, and their whole store was basically this gas station was
my
nothing but
God.
windshield wiper fluid. It was like $20 for a bottle.
Oh
And-
my God.
and so I had to like slowly pour it in, wait for it to like mix with the water and melt it, and pour it in and melt it. And
Well-
it took like 15 minutes.
Well, the way water expands too when it freezes.
It could have damaged anything. I
It
don't
fully
think it
could
did.
have,
I
yeah.
don't think anything damaged. But it's just another consideration. People don't think about the changes in the topography of the world, of the different like humidity levels, how that affects anything that you do. I once worked on this. I had this T-shirt printer, and it only worked at a very specific humidity. If it was
Oh
not that
my
humidity
God.
in the building, it would not work. And it's like these minute changes in environment like are everywhere. They're
Well, you
everywhere.
even look at meds that says store in certain temperatures and at different humidities and
Yeah.
climates, and it's like keep this really dry, and so
Yeah.
you got to be like, oh, you go here.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah, it's nuts.
The more you know about weather. Weather can impact so many things.
Weather can impact everything.
You know, in races, like if you're doing a rally race and it rains in the mud, and you got to change your tires. There's wet tires and dry tires in Formula One. And they also have different like wear thicknesses in Formula One as well. So it's like if it's a hotter day, you want to do like a harder tire because it's going to still have the grip,
Yeah.
but because it'll like melt because of the high speeds and high temperatures.
That's the one thing I miss most about living in LA is I don't experience the seasons.
Yeah.
Like Ohio and many other states in the Midwest, Northeast, and all around the world are places that have 4 seasons, 4 distinct seasons. Hot
Yeah.
summers, or if you're in Australia, hot what would be our winters, you know, it's the other side of the world. But it's that change is human. It's very human. And I think
Yeah.
like because sports are so closely related to the human experience, like that change is almost necessary to get a sense that the world is moving. And
Do you
that
think that's
things
why
are
we
going
lose
on.
track of time more?
Maybe. No, I don't know.
Because everything kind of blurs together because the weather doesn't change?
Yeah, and back in Ohio, like you only have 3 months in this season, so you got to prepare for the next season.
Yeah.
You got to make sure you have your clothes ready, or you got to make sure your house is ready. You got to have a shovel, salt. You got to keep salt for your driveway for the winter because it didn't snow a lot in Ohio, but it still froze. And you know there was just all these different reasons that you would have to think ahead. So in LA, I never think ahead. It's always like, oh, it's raining 10 inches today. It's sunny for the next 3 months, and it's like there's no gradual progression. There's no time to appreciate. It's like your body. If you go to a higher climate, you acclimate with that cycle and the rhythm, the year-long cycle. I feel like you need that to feel yourself acclimate to the new environment. It's also why I'm a big believer that being in the same air-conditioned space is not good for you. Your body wasn't meant to be at perfectly 70 degrees the entire time. It may be comfortable, but just like anything, you get used to it, but you lose out on all the other processes that were counting on you sweating occasionally or getting cold or shivering. You know, you lose your homeostasis.
The adaptability of the human body, and if you don't allow it to be forced to adapt, it suddenly is like, I wonder if there's a study that talks about like weight loss or exercise and sedentary lifestyle if you're constantly at a certain, I wonder how much that factors into fat burning.
I have no idea.
That's fascinating.
Oh, well, this is a sport podcast. We don't know anything about that. And I don't know anything about anything. But now you listening at home do know more a bit about how environmental factors and weather affect and change sports around the world.
Yeah, whether it goes from inventing to results to where they're popular to a degree, because, you know, generally sports are more popular where they're accessible and able to be played. So that's why like curling and hockey is more popular in Canada as opposed to the United States.
Yes, it is true, I think. I'm assuming. Tyler seems to know what he's talking about most of the time, but if he doesn't, you can go to the subreddit and you can accuse him of not knowing what the hell he's talking about.
Yeah, yell at me, especially on how I pronounce things, because I'm a dirty American that sucks at saying words that aren't English.
I'm an American. I do a pretty decent job.
Listen, I'm just trying to get through days and read them as best I can, and maybe sometimes it's funnier to
He's
mess up.
afraid of falling into his native French accent, and he doesn't want anyone to know, so he has to seem like an idiot instead of the elegant Frenchman that he really is.
Oui.
He did it!
Anyway, you can find out more of how French Tyler is at apocalypto_12 and various places on the internet. My name's Markiplier, but be sure to follow this podcast. And also, we have merch.
Yes. Go to store.gmfst.com. You can check out, hopefully we have some new products up. Some of the old stuff is going to be fading out, and we're getting some new stuff in, so check it out and keep checking it out often. I think you can even subscribe for like email notifications or something.
They probably can.
That's cool.
That's
Also, there might be a cool collaborative effort with another podcast that there's another version of my co-host on coming soon. So you might want to subscribe to that email notification to see when that comes out, because I'm betting it would be a limited supply.
Okay, fair enough. Bye-bye.
Bye. I'm gonna be over here up camera, but my face will be neutral, so you don't really need to see my face. I'm just finishing this excess of like, you know, spare parts that I have from my other builds, and then I'll have to go clean Pyro's cage, because apparently that's my job forever and ever. But it is interesting how weather and the environment affects sports and the way we live, you know? Like, when I went to New York, I wasn't really used to the cold just right away. I should have been, but, you know, I haven't stayed in New York for a very, very, very long time. So, like, all of that, like, cold stuff was not it for me at all. Okay, let me bring him up. I am scared of dropping him now. Now that I have made him, I am scared of dropping him. Let me move you back. Just a smidge. Okay, excuse my suitcase, actually. There we go. Perfect. Alright. You look good? Cool. And now, to add the piece of resistance, his little name tag plate thingy with his little buddy. I don't know. And voila. There we are. I'm gonna take you in here. There he is in all his glory. And I added some like greenery here, like for like the different like biomes and stuff. These are like excess like stuff from my collection that I have down here. But yeah, I think this looks pretty cool. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments what you think of my BD1 here. He's very, very fragile, so you know. Alright, well, I'm gonna go since I finished him. Next time we will work on, I guess, knitting one more project that's Star Wars themed. But otherwise, yeah, I think he's done. Look at him back there. Yeah, he's done. So, I don't know what we're gonna do next, but it was very interesting to learn more about sports and how it affects, or the weather and how it affects sports. So, I'll see you guys later. It's been M.A.D.D.Y. I don't know if I'm gonna... I don't know about him. I think he's good there. Let me know. I'll see you guys later. Peace.